So we are live as well. I just noticed that.
Yeah.
So,
So we'll just wait for everyone to sort of join in. There's a lot of people joining in, getting admission requests. I'll just turn off the waiting room as well. Yeah. So guys, glad to see all of you joining in. We'll just wait for 5 minutes to let everybody else who is planning to attend as well join in. If any of your friends are trying to join but they weren't able to register, they don't have the link, we'll just put the link up in chat so you could probably share it with them. Or we're also live on YouTube. They can head on to Matter Media's channel on YouTube, and they can attend or see discussions there as well. Though I think we'll also sort of try to take in questions from there. Till then, before I hand it over to Meghna to sort of take this discussion forward and introduce the panel, I am going to request all of you if you could turn if the participants today can turn off their video and sort of be on mute for the time that they're attending, so that we have a non-interrupted discussion and session. Though we're going to open up for Q&A towards the end, so that is where we can have a more open discussion with everybody out there. Till then, we would also like you guys to put in some questions that you have initially in the chat box. So we'll be opening up to a few questions before we start with the panel, and then we'll have somewhere around 60 minutes of panel discussion where our panelists today are going to sort of give their insights from their experiences of running amazing businesses. And okay, am I? Yeah. So we're going to do. We're going to start the discussion in a while. Till then, if anybody is facing any technical difficulties, you can sort of put it up in the chat. You can direct your messages directly to this account called Matter Media. So we'll try to help you out with that. And if you have any questions, you can post it in the open chat, so we can all see those, and we'll definitely try to address as many of those questions. We've also gotten your questions through the registration form, which we've already sort of taken a note of, and we try to address those as well. So it's amazing to see a lot of people joining in. We were a little skeptic if people would be joining in since it's Saturday and it's a busy day for especially F&B businesses. So that is great. Okay, we'll just wait for one more minute, and before I hand over to Meghna, who's the CEO and chief, how she presents herself is Chief Everything Officer of Dream a Dozen, which is an all-women's kitchen right here in Bangalore. She has been an OG in our journey. She's been an OG in our journey, and she. Okay, guys, there's some disturbance. I'd request everybody all the participants to keep themselves on mute so that we can have an uninterrupted session today. Thank you for doing that. So coming back to introducing Meghna, who's our moderator for today. She has been an inspiration as I was sort of introducing her to the rest of the panelists as well. I think she is our senior from Christ, as well as we've worked with her on a few projects. So we recently did, help her curate images for her campaigns and stuff. And that's where I think she is the perfect person that we could feel, because we've had multiple discussions with her. She's so there's a lot of insights that she adds back to the community, and plus her she's been working a lot on her content recently, and it's amazing to see the beautiful initiatives that Meghna has been taking with regards to the small business September and the other food F&B industry discussions that she curates on a platform, along with managing an entire venture of her own, which is she's the best, and definitely all our desserts come from her. So that is Meghna for you. Meghna, please add on. I know it wasn't the most perfect description.
No, no, thank you, Chirag. You've been much kinder than I deserve. Mutter Media has become like family to us. We've been working with them for over a year now. Initially, they had done a particular cheesecake campaign that kind of blew everybody away. We'd never had that quality of content previously. And recently, we just launched a new menu with them as well. So, okay, so what we're going to do is just start the discussion. And okay, I can hear myself. Can you guys hear? Yes?
We can hear you.
No, is there an echo?
Yeah, there is a
There is some feedback. Yeah.
something in the back.
Okay, I'm going to restart. I just dropped off from mobile. Is it better now?
Yes.
Okay, wonderful. Okay, I'm so sorry about that. Okay, so what we will be doing is, first off, I'd request everybody who's over here to keep themselves on mute. We don't want any embarrassing things going on where somebody's yelling for chai and food and things in the background. But also just to respect the amazing panelists that Mutter Media has succeeded in bringing together, not only from different parts of the industry, but different parts of the world. I was very amazed to see everybody's profiles and also just listen in on the conversation that everyone was having a couple of minutes ago. So I'm very excited to learn from everyone for sure, and I hope you guys are as well. So I'll start off by introducing very briefly all the panelists, and then we'll get into questions. When we do get into questions, I'd be more than happy to take some pointers from the audience as well, because I'm sure there are people who want to learn and who can also teach other audience who have signed up for this event. And then we will go on to like a full-fledged question answer session. I'd request that everybody raise their hand on Zoom, and I will pick out their names. If your hand is raised, you will come to the front of my screen and I'll be able to see you. It's also great if we can have videos off, if that's convenient, videos on, if that's convenient to you, because then it's comfortable for us to know the vibe of the audience. It's already online versus offline, so it's a little bit more difficult this way. Okay, so let's get on into it. I'm going to first introduce Ashwin. Ashwin is a food photographer and food content creator all the way from Chennai, and he's one of the people that all the panelists want to work with, and they wish that he was in their city. Ashwin, I'm so glad that you're here. I think you have such a diverse, such a different perspective to bring to the table. And like you said, you're from the other side. So I can't wait to listen to what you have to say. Hitesh is joining us all the way from Cape Town. And what is very interesting is that he had so many ventures before this, and his most successful venture was successful during the pandemic, which is amazing. I think that's very similar to the kind of audience that we have today, because many content creators came up during the pandemic, and the food industry was definitely impacted, but also positively impacted by the pandemic. And you can definitely bring a lot to the table, not just from that experience, but from the few decades of experience that you're bringing. And thank you so much for taking out the time to be with us today. Okay, next we have Muskan. Muskan is from State Plate. I checked out her page on Instagram, and it is so exciting what she's doing. She will tell you a little bit more about it herself, but she's bringing together different specialities of different places from India, and I don't think there could have been a better name than State Plate for the business that you are doing. Navika, true to her profession, is also in the middle of prepping for service and being on the panel with us. She's a chef, and her product is very interesting. She's into ramen. Her brand is called Hopeless Ramen. You will have to tell me how to pronounce that. And yes, and it's a passion project, and I'm waiting for her insights as well as a chef. Because I'm not from that background, and I'd love to hear what somebody has to say about that. Cool. Okay, so the topic for today is food content creation, and something that I'd like to open up with for everybody is how can the content help you position your brand as an authority in the space that you are in. Have you felt that content creation was beneficial? And have you seen that the more effort that you're putting into content creation, the more you're getting out of it in terms of respect from the industry and from your audience as well? Hitesh, would you like to start off with that question? I think you're on mute, Hitesh.
Yeah, I'm just saying that content is very important. Your content, it creates a message for your client or the audience that you have and the readers or whoever you are trying to market your particular product for. So according to me, I think it's very important, and the quality of content that you put out is the most important thing, especially for your business, to show off and show them what you have, something different that you have. Because in this particular in the industry that we are, the food and beverage, you want to be different. You come out with different kinds of products that you are wanting to showcase your with your food and your talent. But at the same time, we feel that only our food will market our business. But actually, we also require in the kind of world that we are living, where say maybe 20 years down the line we didn't have social media, and now with social media we need to have the right content to get the right audience. And I think it's important from my side. I feel it also creates a strong relationship, between the customer and the consumer, and content is the main like thread in between that. That's what I would say.
For sure, for sure. In fact, sometimes I feel in our business, it's more difficult to run the rest of the business than to actually make the product. All the content and everything. It's more important and more difficult. Navika, what would you have to add about that as somebody who comes directly from the industry and is now into the business side?
So I believe content has played a very essential role, at least for me, because the kind of product that I plan to put out and that I'm putting out right now is more or less somewhat of a niche, right? So when we say ramen, most people actually directly think of top ramen, which is just a point of education that needs to slowly be conveyed from my end to my audience. And it has also greatly helped me in finding the right people for my business. Because that's what happened. Whatever you put out is what attracts your audience. So
I think you made a very interesting point about finding the right people. Muskan, have you found that you are able to establish a connection and a trust with your audience and find the type of people who want to find you?
Yeah, definitely. I think, like you pointed out very correctly, in the F&B space, probably the product happens to be the easiest part, right? So because all of us are passionate about food and we know our food so well, I think that's the first step, right? But the part where you have to get your food out there to people is where your brand building and content piece comes in, and that's where the challenge is, and that's where you can really differentiate yourselves from anybody else out there who's also either making something similar, making something different. And like Navika said, it really helps you educate people on what you're actually trying to do. And if you can really understand your target audience, you can build content that's relevant to them, content that they like, then that's, I think, a very strong connection that they immediately have to your brand. And I think it's such a competitive like business landscape today that that's going to be the biggest differentiator for your business out there today.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. Ashwin, being on the other side of the table, I think the question that I have for you is, what does content even mean? Because I was with somebody recently and I had put out a post looking for content creators, and somebody who was in journalism, she applied. And she thought that, it was blog writing and things, and it was a total mismatch. So what is your definition of content, and how do you think it impacts the F&B industry?
So content is basically anything that basically it's anything that the like the makers of the food put out. Basically anything can be content, but the most important part is like it's twofold. One is content is like the first contact with your customer, basically, because when someone hears about a new brand from wherever, the first thing that they look up is their Instagram or their website, or them check them out on Zomato or something. And the thing that they look at is the content, whether it's pictures, whether it's the descriptions that they read. So they all count as content. But the more important part is like the context of the content, right? Like it has to be relevant to what you're doing. Like everyone is putting out content right now, but the people who are winning with content, they put out content that is like relevant to the product that they create, relevant to like what they do, who they serve. So that's what I'd say too. I'm trying to keep it short here. I can go on there.
No, I think you just gave some value bombs in terms of context of the content, and in terms of saying that it's how you make contact with your audience. Content is nothing but how you're making contact with the audience. So, I have like a pen and paper next to me, and I'm writing these down. That's what I'm going to tell my team after this panel is over. But yeah, great insights. Hitesh, given that you've been in the industry for a while, how do you think the current definition of content, like Ashwin just said, has changed over time, and how important has its role changed over time?
See, before, as I said, in many years ago, like when I was in India, I had a restaurant, and I don't think I ever thought about what content I should put out and where, and how I was going to bring about my brand out to the people. So that was then. And now, the first thing that when you start something or you have a business that you want to do, you need to start thinking firstly, what are you going to put out, and who are your customers? That's very important. Before even if I have a product, I'm going to first inquire or try and what do you call it, do a research. Who am I going to market this particular product? And if you, and with the millennials and what is happening, the people are on social media, and if you know that your product is for them, then you need to try and push the content that is going to be absorbed by that particular kind of niche community. Like now, not everybody is going to have what I have to offer. So it depends on the product that you're going to bring out, and then you need to see that. And I think that has evolved in the last few years, and it's going to, I don't know where it's going to go in the next 10 years down the line. It's really, and it's important. We have to be communicating to our clients. We have to be consistently communicating to our clients, trying to tell them what we have. We need to show them, it's not only put the pictures out, but show them what you're doing. Tell them a story about yourself.
Yeah.
People want to know who's behind that, who's making that. Before, you could go and buy something from the shop and it's fine. Nobody wanted to worry about. Now they want to know who's making it. They want to try and build a relationship with the maker, who's behind the scene, who's behind state plate. And that's when that is what is happening, because we are not in front of each other. We are all going on social media, or people are buying online. They want to know who the people are behind, because we are human beings and we all need to have contact and kind of relationships. And that's what I've seen the difference between from previous to now.
For sure. I think what you said reminded me of a couple of years ago in college when we decided to start our business. And even now, it's very similar that the way you decide that I've started a business is by opening an Instagram page. That is our definition, new definition of starting the business. Deciding the name, opening an Instagram page. And as soon as you're on Instagram, you automatically kind of start thinking, just like you said, about the target audience. What are the colors of my logo? What is the age group that I'm looking at? Female, male, depending on the business that we're in. And in that context, I think I always think of Dreamer Dozen as a person. And if Dreamer Dozen was a person, how would I describe its character traits? And try to communicate with our audience in the same language as the language of the brand. So how would you set the language of the brand? Would any of the panelists like to come on this? I'll just make it a little random now.
Yeah, I think I have something to say there. Yeah, no, I think language of the brand and consistency of just your brand logo, your brand colors, your brand font is something that as the state plate were not doing for the longest of time. And then I think there was a point where I had this conversation with somebody who's been in the brand building business for a couple decades. And I think it was a very valuable conversation because it then hit me that how when you're making very good content, but it's just random pieces of content, just very haphazardly put together, where you have completely different font, completely different style, completely different color, it doesn't maintain a sense of connect or uniformity with your audience. But then when you start having that consistency, so we actually really got down to making a brand book after that, and we never, I think we hugely discounted the importance of having a brand book for ourselves. And now I think it's very subconscious, but like you think of something like a Zomato and you immediately think of that red color, that particular shade of red, that particular white text in the font that they use. And wherever you see a Zomato post or Zomato ad, you immediately know it's them. And I think that is very important. And maybe as a customer, you're not realizing the kind of subconscious value that has to you, but it genuinely does. And we've seen that change in the state plate when we've started maintaining that brand consistency for ourselves.
Yeah, I mean, we never gave enough importance to exactly what you're talking about, fonts. Sometimes, this font looks nice, sometimes that font looks nice, and we take the liberty of changing it in our posts. And actually, that's not okay. Restricting yourself actually saves a lot of time as well, because then you don't have to make the decision every time of going through 1,000 fonts and 1,000 colors. So, yeah, I think that's invaluable information for anybody who's starting off. Somebody in the chat box, Vrishali, also made put out a great question of how long does it take for this consistency to resonate with the audience? Do you think it's a factor of time, or do you think it's a factor of reach, or anything else that I'm missing?
I think, yeah, Hitesh, go ahead.
No, I'm just saying that anything, basically, a human mind is very short lived. So like, that's why if you see on radio, they keep telling you every so often, they keep reminding you of a particular program or if something is going to come through. And also they don't start advertising maybe say a month ago. So if you want to try and get an audience, you can't put out something a month ago and then expect people to remember. So you need to be consistent. You need to keep reminding people, because of we get involved in so many things. We all have issues that happen in the world which are not expected. So something or the other comes up and you're not going to remember. So you need to keep out the content all the time, keep consistently reminding people, trying to tell them what it is, maybe do it in different ways so that people can, like if you put out something that you had put out this thing, try and link that same thing with something different, but saying what you want to say. That way it will remind them, yes, I've seen that and that was the price and I really want to go for that because I felt like that time. So that is what is important, and that's what I feel that it will help you. I don't know if it answers your question, but that's what I feel. Sorry, Muskan, you can go ahead.
No, I think I absolutely agree. And I don't think it's a factor of time. I don't think there's a particular, let's say, if you do it for 3 months, then it's stuck with people. I think, as you rightly pointed out, it's just a factor of consistency. If you maintain that brand language and style throughout in every single thing you do, not just on your social media, but also on your website, on your packaging, and every single collateral that's out there, I think you'll start seeing that. You start seeing that very, very soon. I think we've started. We rebranded ourselves just about 2 months ago, and we've already started seeing the effects of the positive effects of that on our customers' minds and our business.
Actually, now that you said not just your social media, but every other platform, it's a small example. I was speaking to a business owner from a tier 2 town called Bhilai. She started a new venture and they go to the extent of everything in their brand is brown. So even when they're chatting with their customers, they only use brown color emojis. So brown color heart, brown color. So it's that consistent, and that is something I never thought about. So that's
Yeah.
amazing. I think
This cute auto emoji that WhatsApp has, which is our brand mascot, and fortunately WhatsApp has that emoji. And every single message that we send to our customers has to end with that emoji. So
yeah,
it
goes into those many details. Yeah, Ashwin, you had something to say.
Yeah, I had something to say. I think Hitesh and Muskan, they kind of covered most of it. I wanted to say that it's not just a matter of time, like Muskan said, because you could do the same thing over and over again for like years, but they might not even like remember your brand. It's more about putting out content that makes an impact to the customer, like personally. For example, if let's say like when COVID broke out, people who like the big brands, they started putting out content that are relevant to COVID, like just to be safe, we are following all these safety procedures. So they are like advertising themselves as a safe brand, so they'll include all those brand colors, all the like the fonts and stuff, they'll keep that all consistent. Now that does play a role, that is very important, but that's like the entry point. At that point, after that you'll have to think of the context, like what's happening out in the world and what's important to your customer. Then you'll probably, if you have something to talk about that, then you can talk about that. Obviously consistency and time, it goes without saying, it is absolutely important for any brand to do that, but it's also important what you're talking about and how it, if it impacts the customer or not. Because we see a lot of brands that keep advertising the same thing over and over again. We get blasted with those ads, we just get annoyed with those ads, we don't enjoy those ads. But the good advertising, they try to like mix it up, and they don't do the same thing over and over again, they try something different, and it's like multifaceted. So that's what I was trying to say.
Yeah, like you're saying, the big brands, right? Recently Zomato put out a post that said we don't take orders anymore on Independence Day, and that went viral all over WhatsApp, all over Instagram. It was one of the most successful. So in that context, of course, not everybody is as witty or has that much budget as Zomato to think of those kind of things. But in terms of all of our businesses, what are some of the most successful campaigns that you've seen? Navika, would you like to pitch in some of the most successful pieces of content that you've put out?
Well, I think in terms of accessible, it's always best to look at Instagram again. I mean, because that's where everyone is very naturally, whether or not they're going there to consume content by brands or like their friends, they just are there. And I think there's also, what I personally also like doing is whenever I see a brand that I really like, be it a restaurant or a food business in any kind of space, even FMCG for that matter, I try to sort of seek out the founders page and understand their individual journey as well. Because one thing that I really believe is any business is, and the personality of a brand, while it does not overlap with the founder, it really matters and comes from the founder. And it helps, I mean, it's accessible information again, but it also helps me understand personally what's happening with the brand a little bit better than just the brand's page.
Yes, yeah, I think Muskan got it right. I had actually asked the question of which one of your campaigns or content pieces was most successful, but I think I may have mispronounced and you heard it as accessible.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
You mean my own
Yeah.
campaign? Any campaigns that I've run that were successful?
Yes.
Um, I think there was one to do with this. Okay, so I recently did this one bowl of ramen. It's
Mhm.
called mazamen. Now that is even like it's a soupless ramen. It's something that people usually don't see. So I was expecting people to sort of be apprehensive about how exactly that's going to turn out. So I did the first run and I sent it to all of the people who usually just regularly order without even thinking because they just have some faith. And what was different about that bowl was that I added a cracker, which is an achapam or a rose cookie, you guys might know,
Mhm.
on top, which was made with red bean. And what they had to do was crumble it and put it on their ramen before they eat it. And I also requested them to sort of make a video if they were doing it. So before my next service, I made that into a campaign with all my users' feedback and everything. I had to run that bowl 3 weeks. I don't run
Wow.
it for 3 weeks. So I
Wow.
think that was pretty successful. Also because of the interactive element that
Yes.
allowed people to see how much everyone else enjoyed it. Really
Yeah.
wants you to feel like I want my hands on that.
Yeah.
So,
I've had a similar experience. Anything even slightly interactive, you give some chocolate sauce and you have to pour that on top, or some photos coming out of the cake. Anything even slightly interactive is so Instagrammable and instantly desirable that people absolutely love it. So yeah,
absolutely.
yeah, yeah. Okay. Muskan, any of your very successful campaigns that you'd like to mention?
Yeah, I think so. Our festival campaigns usually do well. The ones that we do for stuff like Diwali or Rakhi or Ganesh Chaturthi. I think because there's a lot of hype building. So, for example, if you're doing modaks for Ganesh Chaturthi, you start building the hype very early. You start talking about the importance of modak. You start like teasing people with your boxes when they have arrived in the warehouse and they're ready to dispatch. Then up till Ganesha, you show them with like being offered to Lord Ganesha, for example. So I think when you have like a long festival campaign which is planned well, planned in phases, and you're doing a proper hype creation and keeping people very very engaged and involved in that whole campaign, that usually does work very well. And I think, as you said, anything that helps customers engage with each other, right? So recently we had this story set with pani puri. I remember that we had done like, do you like suji pani puri better or wheat pani puri better? Do you like pani puri with dahi better or with pani better? So whenever there's stuff that or even on our posts, when people can comment about their favorite hometown food and just talk like engage with the content, I think we've always seen those kind of posts performing the best for us.
I'd love to get in on that conversation, suji or atta, which pani puri is best. I think that's a super fun thing. Hitesh, have you seen anything that just made the brand take off immediately?
Yeah, I'll tell you what I've seen actually. I see that reels are working very, very good
Yeah.
now. So
Yes.
people want to see something that is happening. So if I see some, like obviously I'm not sure if everybody knows, but I do something with pani puri and I sell pani puri, dahi batata puri, and those kind of things. And when I take pictures of people eating it or whatever, they like to see that. So if I put a reel, somebody pouring some pani puri in there and enjoying it. Also another thing, also another one, I would say that I think that brand Amul, they Amul butter or Shrikhand, I think I see that. I'm actually in Cape Town, but I've seen quite a lot of people come here. They are very like very real. So whatever is happening in the news, they take that and they put it out there. So if you could utilize that, what is happening, because people want to be relevant, what is happening now, and if you put something there, they want to read the story. This is what is happening and whatever. So I think that is very important. If you keep that, what is happening around you, and try to use that into marketing your product, it will help. Like I'm just thinking, yesterday actually I thought of something. I told my boys that I think we need people to get vaccinated. Otherwise, the economy is still going to be the way it is. So I said, instead of me doing pani puris in shot glasses and giving pani, let's get an injection and put that out. And I'm actually going to work. Yesterday, I thought about it, and I'm going to put that: get vaccinated, get vaccinated with a pani puri at Kapuchka or something of that sort. So I think that is what is very important. Once you keep that relevant to what is happening around you, it will help. I'm not sure if Ashwin can come and do my photography for that.
For the reels and things. Ashwin, what are your thoughts? Any campaign that you did for a client that just took off and they said, hey, come back again? That was so great.
Okay. So this was like the before times before COVID hit. I think it was in 2018. I think, if I'm not wrong. So this was for like a very small and upcoming brand. So they did not. They could not like do like huge like big budget things. They were like a flavor brand. And so what we did was we did a campaign around Navratri, and apparently for each of the days there is like they all have their own colors. So we did a campaign where that completely focused on colors. So if we get like granular, it's like in each picture all the props would be like a certain color. If red is that color for the day, that would be like the theme for that picture. So we did those, and they planned their Instagram in a way that for the entire day they'd make posts of all like that fit in that color scheme. And they encourage people to like do the same thing, like bake. So the essences can be used in like all kinds of dishes, right? Like baking stuff, cooking, whatever it is. So if you put up like a story or something tagging us, we share it and you'll get an offer if you had posted that day. So they sent out like coupons for people who like took part in that. So it kind of like increase their
It's a
engagement.
multiplier effect.
Exactly. Yeah. So I played a very small part, and I just took the pictures. The idea was the clients, obviously,
The
but that's
pictures
just
are not a small part. Let me tell you that pictures are not a small part at all. But yeah.
I know, but in that specific campaign, all I did was I just took the pictures. The idea was not mine; it was the client's idea to do that. But that's something I noticed was like super successful. Like everything that you guys have been talking about, like Hitesh, Muskan, and Navika, they all talked about like to make the content interactive, right?
Yeah.
So they encourage people to like take part of something that the brand is doing, which is picking a color for each day, which is not like they didn't come up with that. It was already there. Like all the Navratri, they all have like colors assigned to them already. All they did was they took that idea and like made it their own. So that was like a really cool way to do it. It's not like very high budget or anything. They were going to need pictures anyway, but we planned them in a way that's very like strategic and that would like actually encourage people to do something of their own. So
right, for sure. One of the most successful in ours in the recent times was actually a very simple post on before Father's Day, saying what's the best advice that you've gotten from your father. And it was such an emotional pour of comments. We couldn't read. We had like hundreds of comments on that, till the point where people couldn't fit that text into Instagram comments and they were DMing us their stories. So it was one of those very emotional ones. I just wanted to add that as an emotional element to your content as well. I think another thing I've noticed for the folks who are from Bangalore, there's a brand called Honesta, and they did it for a long time. I think they're still doing it, where they say name of the week, and they will take like 2 or 3 letters from a very common Indian name and say, if you have say ANA in your name, you get free pizza this week, or if you have this. So those posts encourage so many comments because everybody's tagging their friends, say, hey, we'll split the pizza this week, you can go grab your free meal or free pizza. So yeah, that was a very, very successful one that I noticed online as well. I think even what Hitesh spoke about, Amul is iconic in the contextual marketing game. Okay, would anybody in the audience now like to come on and share some of the stories that they have? I'm sure you guys are also running your businesses. I see there is a cafe. Just wait for a minute or else I'll go on to the next question.
Hello.
Yes. I can't make out who that is. Could you raise your hand? I can't see you on the screen.
Okay.
Yeah,
Can
Ishtaq.
see my hand
Yeah.
placed. Ishtaq.
You can switch on your video so you come
Yes.
on the screen.
No, actually, I can't switch on my video. Am I audible?
Yes, we can hear you. Please go on. Where are you streaming in from?
Bangalore.
Awesome. Please go on.
Okay, I was just listening to the conversation. I just had one thing in my mind that, like, suppose we want to be heard or noticed by the people, as you said, like you run a campaign, you run a particular series of whatever, right? So on Facebook, so and if we have to do it on a Facebook group, how do we increase the members in first place? What are the different ways where we can get the likes? Because I know for the fact that getting Facebook likes on your page doesn't help you really, and probably the group it helps because there will be some kind of a participation by tagging each other and all that. But then how do you get to have the members in first place?
Would anybody like to take that question?
I
Oh, so you go.
no, go ahead, Ashwin. Ashwin, please go ahead.
Okay, cool. So I didn't get your name. I can only see a name of the cafe.
My name is Vinayak.
Vinayak, okay. Vinayak, that was an excellent question because I think a lot of up and coming brands do like struggle with that, especially on Facebook, right? Because the Facebook is at a point where they've totally, prioritize advertising over like content, really, not content, like organic reach. So it's very difficult to like get followers or get people into your group just through making posts. You'll obviously have to advertise if you want to like see any sort of growth on Facebook. And I'm not talking about those promotions where you just post something and promote that. You'll probably need to do some research on like Facebook targeting marketing. Uh, so along with that, you'll probably have to have some content that would actually want people to come there. A lot of mistakes that I see brands making is that even like the brands that I have worked with, I do give them like the best pictures I can, but it's what they do with those pictures that will like tell whether it's going to be successful or not, right? A lot of people just make like design layouts and post that, and they stop with that. They don't like think further than that. And a lot of brands do make that mistake. They think if you like make high quality content, people will come, but high quality content is like differs from people to people, right? So you have to think about what your customers, what your ideal customers would want to see from you. It's not just offers. Like if you just keep posting about offers, no one is going to like follow that. No one is, it's not interesting for people to follow that, right? So you'll probably have to do something more interesting, like any of the campaigns that we talked about, like what's the best advice you have got from your father. That's like a really emotional way to like get people to engage. But even before that, you'll probably have to start becoming consistent with the content you put out. It can't all be like that, all be like a campaign, or it can't all be like those interesting questions. You'd need to throw them like inside from now and then, but you'll probably have to have like some sort of consistent content, whether it's showing the behind the scenes of what happens in your cafe, like how you prepare the food, or who's the cook. We can maybe take a video or like a 60-second video of like the cook talking about like how they learned cooking or something like that. That would actually help connect the people who are behind the cafe to the people who are coming to eat there. So that is really what you should be prioritizing initially. And then you can start thinking about all the campaigns, like everything that we talked about. Those are obviously more fun to talk about. And they would do like boost your engagements a lot more because they are like more significant that way. But you probably have to have like a pillar of content even before that. Like that's like the next step from there. But the basic you'll have to figure out is like how to put out content that the customer actually cares about. You can take it. Sorry if I interrupted you.
No, nothing. I think you got exactly everything that I was also going to say. Just two things I will add in there is you need to create a trust among what customers you are looking for. And you create a brand awareness, and you need to have some kind of trust. And how you're going to get that in social media or in Facebook is getting reviews. So you need to try and see if you start telling your clients and the people who are coming to your restaurant or your cafe or any kind of business You need to start telling them to put reviews on Facebook. And then when people want to see and how trustable they are to do business with this particular brand. And not everybody, because of things that are happening in social media, people are not so cool enough to go and just do business with anybody. So I think once you have that trust, is I think one, build up credibility in your brand, and then you try and tell your customers to do reviews so that they can actually, once they put out reviews, people see that, hey, these guys are saying that this particular place is very nice, and then people start commenting. And also I would suggest that maybe you join the groups that are actually looking for the product that you are trying to sell, so you market that to that target only, and that's how you'll be able to get more people, because now you're targeting to the right people. Now if I'm going to try and sell something that I feel it's good, but I'm targeting to this completely different market, they are not going to come and follow you, and not going to get, they're not going to even give you a review. And that's what I feel. I'm just going to put my 2 cents there.
Just something that I want to say on this, because I think all these questions for me has the same answer. And I think a lot of people, because they are home chefs or small businesses, and a lot of people don't have huge budgets also. Like Ashwin pointed out, when you have huge budgets, you're running your ads on Facebook Ads Manager, it's easier for you to grow your followers. But then how do you do that when you're a small business? How do you do that when you're a home chef and you don't have large budgets? So I think for me, the most important thing that I've learned is really, there was a question about how you ensure your content doesn't become too much spam also, right? I think all this actually has the same answer, and that is, you need to step into the shoes of your target market and really just understand what they want to see. Because if you have, let's say, a budget of X, like an X monthly budget for your content, and if you spend all of that on creating, let's say, really fancy cinematography, but that's not something that your customer really cares about, the piece that you've put out, and you've spent lakhs on that piece of content that really did not have any value. Rather, I was discussing this with my graphic designer only yesterday. There was this piece of illustration we had on one post which took her 2 hours to create, and I asked her that, could you have spent those 2 hours doing something else? Because did that one piece of illustration, do you think the delta that created was large enough for our target audience? And I didn't think it was, right? And when you're working on a tight budget, and I think even Meghna asked this initially, how much effort do you put on content? What is more important is you channelizing that effort and budget in the right direction. So if I have an X budget and I'm spending all that on something frivolous that my customer does not care about, I'm spending money and my content is becoming spam and I'm not gaining followers either. But if I try to keep it real, keep it authentic, just post about what, so I follow a couple of recipe pages which create some really, really amazing recipes that I follow and I want to make something good. So I'm their perfect target audience. You need to figure out, if you're a cafe, maybe your customers just want to see how delicious your food looks, how appetizing it is, so they want to eat it. Then maybe for you, and this is very subjective, so maybe for you, your budget has to be channelized towards great photographs. But on the other hand, if you're doing, let's say a healthy food sort of page, maybe all you have to do is really post about well-researched food hacks, and you don't even have to put a lot of effort on the photo or the video, but it can just be a plain background with text which is really adding value to, let's say, a daily lifestyle of the customer, and that's what's really like hitting the chord with them. So I think this is very subjective, and if the moment you start churning out relevant content and keep it consistent, I think these are the two most important things for you to really make it with content.
I just want to add to what Muskan just said. about if it's healthy. So a great brand to check out for this is called The Whole Truth. They do those protein bars, and there's a very educational content. So somebody could check that out. They're doing a great job. And another thing to what Hitesh said about feedback, I'm part of a group where we're learning entrepreneurship, and they told us that your customers, you have customers, and then you have loyalists, and then you have advocates. And those advocates are the ones who are going to bring more and more and more people into your page, and you want to create that community into a much larger community. So that's the idea.
And just to add on that, like for me, my like Tanya asked this question: how do you make content when you can't afford professionals to help you with? And I think you follow people. So like, again, coming to Zomato's example, right? Although their content in terms of creation, it's a simple red background with white text. The making of that piece probably took 2 minutes and is something that anybody could do on Canva. But for them, that brainstorming portion probably took like 2 to 3 hours, because they understand that their target audience just cares about witty and funny content, and not about how prettily it was presented. So I think that's what, if you cannot afford super fancy professionals and you're on a budget, you can do with minimal stuff, right? So my mantra with social media is to figure out how you can do more with less. So you can do something very simple, keep it minimal, keep it simple, but keep it valuable for your customer. That's what content is about most of the times. And you don't need fancy professional help for that most of the times. Obviously you do, and that does have a huge impact, but 80% of the times you can do really, really well without that too, is what I stand by.
Okay. Navika, would you like to add on to this question about without professional help, how does one create content on a budget, or not with any budget at all?
Well, I think that's what I'm doing all the time.
That's why I asked you. I figured that's why I asked you.
Yeah, so I think it comes out of a lot of self-education. So like, for example, and I mean, it also comes at a cost. So I usually am not that regular with my Instagram, not as regular as I'd like to be, but there's a lot that I'd like to share as somebody who reads that much about, say, soy sauce, you know. The other day, and this is something that I was just trying out and I saw that it performed really well. Something that I like reading, I'm into ramen, was that there are many different kinds of soy sauces, how they're made impacts their flavor, their intensity, and all of that. So I made a post about that, and I saw that it got really good traction. So I think for any small business that's trying to put out more content that connects with their audience, it's more about just chalking out some time of your week to sort of share what you might already know in a slightly better polished form. And a big part of that is also always clicking pictures on the go, you know. So no matter what I'm making, what I'm making it for, I sort of like to document it. You can always use it in some way, form, or manner later, you know.
Yeah.
Sort of, I mean, eases the effort. And apart from that, like just like planning your days for shoots and everything. So those little things sort of help you manage your content on your own, which give you returns if, I mean, done thoughtfully.
Sure. I think the very first comment that we got was that content is a tool to communicate and create a wow moment. I think that covers everything that we're talking about, creating a wow moment for your customers. So yeah. Okay, let's move on a little bit to the small business aspect. We'll just zero down to that and say, how do we, with the budgets that we have, how do we outsmart the competition? For any of us in the food business, what happens is that the barrier to entry is really low, and anybody almost can do what we are doing. If I run a bakery, there's a bakery in every neighborhood, and now there's a home baker in every apartment. So how do we outsmart those folks who've raised that much money, who have that many resources, or maybe have a full family business of hundreds and hundreds of people? How do we manage that? And honestly, is it important to outsmart the competition, or is there space for everybody?
I'll just I have something to say.
Yes.
So I'll get started then. So I think we've kind of been answering it like all through now. Like we've talked more about things that don't really require a lot of budget. Like all the things that we discussed so far, they are just like smart business moves rather than like something that's going to take you like lakhs of rupees to like get started. And I think Muskan just answered that like just a little bit before this.
Yeah.
So when you create like something, I noticed that we all were talking about is that creating like shareable content. Like even the last thing that Navika said about the things that affect the texture of the ramen and
So
stuff like that.
yes.
Those are more like informative sort of posts, right? And those are not things that you come across every day. So it's something, if you are like a ramen head, like you're like super passionate about ramen, you'll probably like read about that and find it interesting, and you'll also send it to people who might find it interesting, because chances are if you are a person like that, people like that. So when you create like niche content like that, like for example, I know nothing about ramen, so I might not really be interested in that, but you might be, if you already like, if you love ramen. I have friends that love ramen, so if so even though it's not relevant to me, when I read something about ramen, I'll think of that person and I'll send it to them, and they might send it to others. And this is something that is like super easy to do, which is like, you just if you see on my feed, I create a lot of carousel posts. They have nothing to do with images, even though I'm a photographer. I don't those don't have any photos at all. They are just like
Right.
text on a like a blank background. I tried to like keep it minimalistic in terms of the colors and stuff like that, but the information is what really keeps like really makes it shareable. Like I talk about photography, like how to easily like capture something, and so the people that are relevant to that, they'll come to me automatically, and they'll not stop there. They'll keep like sharing it to others. So even
Yeah.
more than my food pictures, even though they are fun to see, the things that get shared are those kinds of like informative sort of posts. So no matter what feed you're in, if you're
Yeah.
any sort of expert, or if you have any information that others are not putting out, you kind of have an edge over there, and you don't really have to like outsmart your competition there, because even though a lot of brands are on Instagram, not everyone is doing like what the people on the panel are doing. Like
Yeah.
they are where they are because they're like smart business people, and they
Yeah.
put out like smart content. And not
Yes.
everyone does that. They just enter Instagram, they just post pictures like normal, like the bare minimum they do. So even if you do a little bit more than that, even if you provide a little bit more value than that, you're like a differentiator there, and people will appreciate that. Your customers will appreciate that. So that's
I
what I
think
wanted to say.
what you said about the bare minimum background in the text in any industry reminds me of Faye D'Souza. Many of you may already follow her, and it's so educational, so valuable. She quit a huge production house to do it on her own, and now look at where she is, and it's amazing what she's doing. Another point that you brought out was about a niche. Now veganism is so big in my industry, baking, everybody wants vegan cakes, or gluten free is so big. So just finding that community, and in my opinion, honestly, outsmarting the competition is not necessary, because there's room for everyone. The kind of business we're in, everyone has a need. Say if it's cakes, they already know that for celebration somebody's going to cut a cake, or if it's food, they already know they're going to have their next meal at 2 o'clock or at 6 o'clock. So all we need to do is get into that and say, hey, why don't you have my food instead? And yeah, I really feel that the population, at least in India, is enough to make our business sustain.
Yeah, I think on that note,
I'm going to disrupt here for a moment. Navika has something important to move to ahead in the day, so she'll be
Sure.
taking a leave. So I just wanted to sort of thank her for being on this panel. Though it's been very busy day since Saturday, 11 a.m. is a very wrong timing, which we realized much deeper into the planning of the event. But thank you for taking out the time and being with us here today, Navika.
Navika, would you want to drop your handle on the chat box so everybody can check out your brand?
Absolutely, absolutely. Thank you so much for having me today. This has been a really insightful discussion, and I wish you all the best. Happy to connect with anyone who'd like to chat further on Instagram or wherever you'd like.
Awesome.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much.
Navika.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Yeah, Muskan, you were saying something probably. Sorry to disturb you.
no, not a problem. No, I was actually on what Meghna question, just was adding to what she was saying. Yeah, I think the whole competition thing, I agree with Meghna as well. If you keep thinking about how to outsmart your competition, um, I think that's not usually where the best content motivation comes from. Like if you think about your brand, your story, because I think everyone has a story to tell. I mean, if you figure out your story, everyone has a story to tell, whether small or large. And if you just true, I think some of the best influencers on Instagram actually are actually just posting about the stuff they like, and they're not really trying very hard. And I think when you do that and you just natural, just true to yourself, telling your story out, putting yourself out there, I think that's usually enough. And I agree with Meghna that it's a huge market, and every seventh person in the world is an Indian. So in a country with a huge population, so we shouldn't worry about competition as much as we should worry about being a better version of ourselves. That being said, on budget as well, I think so for me, like, I think while I think it's easier said than done that you can go on and keep creating content without a budget. You can do that for some time, but I think even with state plate, eventually when you're running a business and your business starts to scale and you have multiple people and multiple other functions of the business you have to look to, you eventually have to have a team who, so that you can get consistent content out there. But my advice to home chefs or small businesses would be to look at that budget not as a cost but as an investment, because like today, content or digital presence is literally the most important thing that is going to differentiate you and help you create your identity out there. So if you think of that as an investment, it doesn't have to be a giant investment, it can be a reasonable investment. But I think it's important that when you scale, you do actually take out a decent enough budget for content creation and have a team who can work on consistent and relevant content.
I'm just going to jump in and ask something that I'm also very curious about. One thing that I was doing in the very beginning of my business was I would take chart paper of different colors. I'd go to the stationery, buy as many chart papers as I could, and take photos from the best phone in the house. That time my dad had the best phone, and that's what I would do. And I was so hesitant to even spend like 2,000 rupees on a good backdrop. And today, when I finally did that, I wish I had done it in the first year. I did it in the third year of my business. I've been using that backdrop for such a long time, and it makes a huge difference. Small things like cake stands or artificial flowers. So do you guys have any hacks that are under, say, 5,000 rupees? You don't have to buy huge professional lights or anything, but you can create those really amazing photos or videos on the go.
I think Ashwin can help us here.
Yeah, I was waiting for if someone else had something to say. Okay, so you actually, so even though I'm a photographer, and I highly recommend you actually like invest in like a good photographer to get your content out there. I understand that not everyone starts there, not everyone has like a huge budget of like a lakh or something to like spend for like a month or two of like content. So you probably have to do that on your own, or get your friend to do that, or like your employees or something like that. And to get started, it's you have the best camera that you can have in your pockets, which is your phone, and you can take amazing pictures with that. And you can do that with almost no investment at all if you just like learn some of the basics of photography, which with obviously you need a little bit of practice. But as far as the investment goes, it's more to do with your time and how you think about it rather than the money aspect of it. And especially when starting out, that's what you have a lot of, right? Like in terms of the time and effort is all you have before.
To share that
Yes, yeah, I do.
like
I was getting to that. Yeah.
So I know I'm pushing you to give your trade secrets, but
no. If you go to my Instagram, all my trade secrets are out there. I don't believe in trade secrets. I'd like to share everything that I know about photography. So when it comes to like taking pictures, the way to make your food look delicious is all to do with lighting. That's like the most important part of like photography. So even if you don't know like how to frame a picture, how to use props and stuff, you don't have to worry about that. you can go for like close-ups so that you don't have to worry too much. Close-ups and flat lays are your friends. So
So what
especially
do
when
you
you're shooting with
mean
the
by
phones.
flat
So
lays as a
yeah,
photographer?
okay. So flat lays are what they are the most popular angular photos from on Instagram. They are like the pictures that you take from directly on top of your frame. Like everything
Okay.
is like flat and they are laid out. And
Okay.
so if you're like if you run a restaurant, or if you run I'll just take a restaurant as an example here. So you don't need to invest in a backdrop there. So what you can do is you can just set up like how you serve your food on your table, like make it look pretty and stuff, like in terms of garnishes and stuff like that, make it colorful, go as close to your window as possible, and like you can set up on a table there and you can shoot a picture there, just with the table as the backdrop. That way you are kind of showing your restaurant in a way, in terms of like showing that table. You can keep it consistent like that. Your pictures can look consistent if you shoot everything on your table to start with, at least if you don't have like money to invest in. But chances are, if you run a restaurant, you can buy a few backdrops, like it just starts and stuff. Those are like the best backdrops you can buy to start with, and they are like really really good. And we kind of underestimate our smartphones in terms of how good they are. Like with the way that things are going, cameras are like the most important part of each smartphone. It's not about talking on the phone anymore. It's all about like taking photos on there. So whatever phone you use, it's perfectly fine. And if I'm allowed to plug something, I have a post with some like smartphone photography tips. I'll drop it in the chat if you want. I have two
Please.
of those posts, so I'll do that. Because that those things will explain to you more with like visual aids than like me like just talking to you about it. So I'll be doing that. Yeah. But the takeaway point is that it's not like as getting your content started. Don't let budget stop you from like taking pictures of your products and posting it online. It's okay even if you're not confident about it. Putting out like a decent picture is perfectly fine. You don't have to wait until you get the perfect picture. So it's all about like keeping connected with your audience, right? So if you're not confident enough to like post it on your feed, you can post it on your story. Like this is what
Yeah.
we're working on right now. We are testing out this food, or on Sunday we serve like cocktails, so you can post some pictures of that. Or
Yeah.
and someone said user generated content. I'm not sure who said that. That's another amazing way to do it. So even if you don't take pictures of your food, your customers will most likely, and you can just like ask for permission and you can like repost them with the credits and stuff. So that is still content, right? Because even if you're not creating it, it's still your product in there and someone is enjoying it. It's kind of like they're recommending your product when they're posting pictures of it. So you can make use of that. So I've been talking for a long time. So if anyone else has something to add, you can.
Hitesh, you spoke about reels. Are there any tools that you're using to do this kind of editing? Any free tools that home chefs and home bakers could use?
No, actually, I don't have any other tools. Actually, as I said, Reels are in Instagram are very popular, and I
Yes.
noticed that. That's the reason I use them. In as Ashwin also mentioned and alluded to, that you need to use your customers. And I think most of the time, if I can't take good pictures, I usually tell, because my food is very Instagrammable. So every time anybody, before they eat it, they want to take a picture. So nobody
Yeah.
takes the first bite without taking a picture. So once they've taken a picture, and if I know that they got a good phone, I tell them, if you don't mind, can you share this? And I give them the credit on
Yeah.
my Instagram handle. And I think that's the way to do it. If you can't afford it, I think that's what we need to try and capitalize with what we have around you. You don't go and spend now. So in the first year, second year, as Muskan and they said that you don't have backdrops. I think our clients have a lot of things that they can help us with. They help us giving us business, and they can
Yeah.
also help us with all these small other things that we want out of them. And that
Yeah.
is what we need to get them. Same thing to market our restaurant as well. And another thing I wanted to tell as well, that uh, we are talking about content, and that's very important. But don't forget that what are you there for in business for? Your product has to be out of the world. You have competition around. You can put the best content out, and you can start spending money. But don't lose your basic, where you want to show off your talent, you want to show off your food. Make sure you have the best quality of food along with the best camera to take the pictures, and that's what's going to help.
I think that answers the question. If somebody put it in the chat box, that how do we convert these highly engaged users into buyers, and that completely answers. Just sell a good product, just sell a really good product, and they're going to come back to you. Yeah. Muskan, you unmuted. Would you like to add?
Yeah, I'm actually of a very different opinion, so I thought I should put in my 2 cents here. So look, I feel like while user generated content, your own content, trying to create content through like taking photos yourself at low budgets, feel like while all that is, it's great, it's great hacks, but hacks are not usually the most sustainable way of running your business for the longest time. So I've had a lot of people, I've had cousins, I've had startup founders, I've had home chefs who asked me that, like, how did you scale up StatePlate, or how did you get these followers, what did you do? And I think whenever I give them a piece of, let's say, do this or hire this person or try to get this done, they always say, no, tell me how I can do it without spending money. I want to get everything, but I want to get it for free.
Yeah.
And honestly, I think it's also like important to put it out there that you have to understand that's not possible. Like, that is, you can do that for some time. You can burn the midnight oil. You can make your own food, take your own photos, put your own content, engage. You can do everything. But if you really want to scale up and build a huge business, then you eventually have to invest. And I think that's like something that I tell people that, listen, don't shy away from, like you said, that when you bought a backdrop or invested in a good camera, you actually realize that maybe you should have done that before, because the return that's giving you on your business is actually higher than the cost. And I think like this is maybe stereotypical, but this is like an Indian thing where people just don't want to spend. And you don't want to spend on hiring a designer, they don't want to spend on hiring a content creator. They want to get but not spend. And like I feel like while you can optimize your budget, you can make use of user generated content, you can make use of like stuff happening around you to create a lot of content, but at the same time, you for you to be sustainable and really be a large business, you have to like jot down a budget and have a team and get people to do that stuff for you eventually.
Right. So now that we've come on to, okay, have some budget, how would you recommend people to get into paid ads? And can we talk about the technicalities of that a little bit, because it seems like a daunting thing for a lot of people who just started their Instagram page, or maybe have some budget but don't have the expertise to do it. Hitesh, Ashwin, Muskan, any of you?
StatePlate's been running paid ads since I think November. So it's been close to a year since we've been doing performance marketing for our business.
Okay.
We started with a very small budget, and we're doing a pretty decent budget on Facebook Ads Manager, Instagram, even Google now. I think while organic, you can get to a certain extent with organic. We know for us as a business, we really wanted to blitz scale after a point of time. We really wanted things to take off because we knew that we can keep doing organic, and we were doing well there. We were doing well with our network of family and friends and people sharing stuff. But we knew that if we really wanted to blitz scale, it was important for us to start spending a little budget and getting into paid ads. It's worked well for us. I think if you don't have an expert to help you with, in our case, we learned it ourselves. So I spent almost 3 months on mastering Facebook ads for myself. So
how did you do that? Did you do a course? How did you learn it?
So Facebook has a bunch of resources of their own, but apart from that, there are a lot of Facebook experts out there. There are YouTube videos you watch, but mostly for me, it was actually practically learning on the job. So I started with, I think, 300 to 500 rupees daily budget. the kind of impact it has. I was trying a bunch of different targeting options, a bunch of different ad creatives, a bunch of different campaign options for myself, and just seeing which one's converting. So I learned on the go that, okay, this works. Let me double click on this and let me scale up on this one, for example. And you have initially Facebook gives you very, very good return on investment. So you have almost 7x or 8x of the return of investment that you've put on Facebook. So that usually helps. And I've had people who go to agencies. I've had a poor experience with them personally. Performance marketing agencies don't do the best job. My usual recommendation for people is, if you have the time, it would be a great idea to learn the basics at least and start on a small budget. After that, Facebook and Google actually have their own programs where you can enroll and get free consultation from Facebook experts.
Oh.
So they
Okay.
help you, and that worked for us. We are on a 6-month consultation program with Facebook as of now. So they really help you set up, find the strategies that scale for you, help you find the right creatives that work, kind of ads that scale, kind of targeting that works. So I think, yeah, you start small, you double click on what works is the best way to do it, and you try to learn it yourself, because usually performance marketing agencies will take a lot of money. They'll try to sell you something that you don't understand, because you don't know what ads manager does. And if you don't understand what it does, then there's a huge probability that you'll probably be fooled by agencies. So my personal advice would be to try to
Do
figure
it
it out.
yourself.
And then maybe once you got a hang of it, now we have someone full-time on the team who actually takes care of our performance marketing.
Okay.
I manage her, because now I feel like 3 months into running Facebook ads, I have a decent idea of what works. So now it makes sense, because now for me it's a bandwidth issue, right? Like, because I'm doing a bunch of other stuff, it's a bandwidth issue. I have somebody who
Right.
have taught what works for us. She's doing it, so that saves my time, but that's in-house. So she's also devoted to my brand. That
You have control over what's happening. Yeah. No, that's a great point. I didn't know that Facebook has these free consultations. That's a really great resource that one can tap into. Hitesh, how is it in Cape Town? Do you need ads to reach out to more people, or organic works?
At the moment, as you know, that I've been in business only for 9 months since the COVID has started. So I haven't actually put out or invested a lot of money in advertising. All the followers that I have got in the 9 months, I've got 2,700 and above followers. They are all been organic.
Wow.
So
Okay.
I'm quite lucky to have that kind of a thing. But I'm sure, as Muskan said, that you have to invest, and I have budgeted now going forward. I would say the first year you try and get whatever you can, and if I'm lucky enough to get the 2,700 followers. So now I think I'll have to start putting some amount of money towards advertising on Facebook, and so I'll have to get an expert to try and see Helena assist me. I think that's the way to go. But try and I think there are as she said, I'm not sure, but I'm happy that she told us that Facebook has those that you can resources that you can use. I'll also try and do that. But I think Facebook is the cheapest way to do and advertise your product, I think. So I think if you're starting off something new, I think do that first and then slowly get into other social media platforms and try and market your product.
So another thing that we realized when we were trying to put some money behind ads, and I was not seeing that our sales was improving. And the person who was doing it, she said, look, we don't have any way to track it. Even if people are coming from those ads, we don't know where they have come from. So that tracking and analytics is very important. So we learned of a very interesting tool called Facebook Pixel that you can actually attach to the back end of your website for free. I mean, it's not technically free because Facebook will take your data and that's what they want. But apart from that, you don't have to actually pay for that tool, and that will help you track whether the person is coming right from the ad to checkout. So that was an interesting thing for us, which is now helping us track our data. Ashwin, do you also get into paid advertising?
Yes, but I don't really do it for the people in the F&B industry. So I have like a
Okay.
different point to say. And it
Yes.
is to like add to something that Muskan said for the previous thing that we were discussing. Like as to like at some point you absolutely have to like get into investing in your marketing, like whether it's content creation, whether it's for like photography, or whether it's for like content writing. You obviously have to. We were
Yeah.
talking about like how people could get started, but that's all it is. Like the hacks are just to get started, and eventually when you do that, you realize that you have a lot more potential if you like start investing in it. Now when it comes, I think someone asked like how to like allocate the budget for this, and like in all what order to like get into this. Now even though I'm a photographer and I would benefit from saying photography is the most important thing, I don't think that's the first thing that you should invest into. The first thing you need is a current strategy as to like how you're going to like market your content, and how you're going to actually like what kind of content you're going to put out. And the photography should actually be in support of that. But
Yeah.
without having that strategy, without knowing what you're going to talk about, the photographs cannot like really match that. You'll have to like work around the photography, which is not really efficient for you, or it's also not going to be very effective, because everything has to be planned for the kind of ads you're going to run, and everything
Yeah.
has to be planned for the whatever content you're going to put on, whether it's like organic or like paid ads. You will
Right.
have to like plan that first before like actually making the content. And
Right.
one more thing is that like Muskan said, she spent like 3 months just like practicing and like getting like practical examples of it. Facebook allows for something called A/B testing. Whenever you run an ad, you can like run like 2 ads simultaneously, or like many different ads simultaneously, and you can talk about the exact same thing with like 3 different creatives, 3 different pictures, or 3 different like posts, even if it's like carousel posts, or if it's like just like a single post. So you can try that out and see what has like the most kind of interactions on it, and what gets the most reactions, and what
Yeah.
gets the most if you like have that Facebook it's called Facebook pixel, right?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
so if you have that, you'll also be able to see like which ads like got the most amount of conversions from there. And you can like the initial phase, you don't have to like have like professional photographs in that. You can just take like a phone picture or something like that, just to like run that ad, just to try it out. If it is successful, you can maybe invest in a photo shoot and take like a higher class like picture of that, and that's probably going to get you like more success, because people are more likely to click on your ad if it's like a more attractive picture. It's a more like
Right.
good looking, high quality picture. So that's one way to like optimize, as well as like learn while you're doing something. And another thing that I wanted to say is like agencies are not the way to go. Both with the agencies that I worked with and my end, as well as like for clients, what I've seen what they do for clients using the pictures, right?
Yeah.
And they all kind of fall flat. They don't really care as much about your brand as you do. So you will probably
Yeah.
be the best person to advertise that. But in order to do, I'm not saying all agencies are bad or anything like that. But initially, you don't want to like go to them without like learning about the marketing yourself. You can eventually go to an agency, like outsource it if you
Yeah.
don't want to hire someone for it. But you'll have to know where your money is going first before you like invest in like an before you outsource it. So the same thing
That's
works with photography as well.
yeah.
That's why you're like, I want you to like take pictures yourself, see what goes into it, so you know what you like and you know what fits your brand. And then you can go to a professional photographer, and you'll know what you want at that point, and it'll be just a more like smarter way of spending money.
That's so true for literally everything in entrepreneurship. You're the jack of all trades, but master of none. So I've done everything from washing the dishes to deliveries, and now even the housekeeping person can't tell me कि इतना Vim bar use होता है because I know, you know. And something as small as that, or something as big as running Facebook ads, you kind of have to do everything on your own, figure it out, and then outsource it to an expert. So yeah, that's a great point. I want to come into something that is a step after we figure out the photographs and the content, and we actually are able to get the sales. How do you streamline it into an e-commerce platform that has become ever so popular after after the pandemic? And a lot of people say, oh, I don't know how to make a website, they're scared of the technicality. But the truth is that in today's day and age, you don't need to be an engineer to create your own website. You don't need to code it. There are so many platforms. I know of some, and I'm trying to shift from our current platform to another one, and I'm getting a lot of free demos from different people. Does anybody have any light to throw on this topic so that the home chefs, home bakers, and content creators can actually go ahead and open their websites for a very minimal cost to start off with?
I think I can add a bit here.
Please
So,
do.
gone are the days when you actually had to invest in an engineering degree or spend 4 years learning code to sort of build your own websites. I think how even we went ahead and built. So with this sort of, you can call it a technology or just something as an enablement, which is called no code. So there's a lot of platforms like Shopify, Wix, WordPress, which help you create websites or your own landing pages with drag and drop. It's extremely cheap. It's I think a Wix website costs the hosting costs around $450 a year max. And you can have simple display websites. They also have e-commerce tools and stuff. So which can help you sort of create a landing page outside. So which, you know, whatever content you push out, it sort of, as the call to action, leads people back to your landing page and converts. There are also businesses who have now made their Instagram as their website. So there are Instagram commerce businesses as well who completely, they even sell using Facebook Shop, Instagram Shop, and they've added those features right there on their social media platform. So they don't generally focus that much on a website, but it's just that it's a good thing to have, because when you want to be found, you have to be findable in a way.
Yeah.
So if someone goes and searches you on, let's say, Google My Business, on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter, or whatever accounts, it's good to have a presence there, or just your website, because and interlinking your content through these platforms is also important, because that sort of creates a universe around your brand. Key that sort of creates your digital presence, which is really strong, and I think that enables a lot more powerful SEO to happen. So interlinking content, even if you put pictures out, putting alt tags or alt descriptions on pictures, so that sometimes when pictures don't load, Google needs a way to understand what's there in the picture, and if you just mention that in the description, it works on an SEO. Gives you the correct channels.
So for the benefit of the audience, what is alt tag?
Alt tag is basically just alternative tags in case, because of bandwidth issues, if your pictures or if your content, which could be like higher in size or resolution, it doesn't load. Alt tag is, as descriptions or tags, it helps Google scroll through your websites and through your content and sort of understand in written format what your picture has. So that sort of helps you make your distribution a little stronger. That's where people sort of also do a lot of Quora articles and connect those back to your website. And there's a lot of blogs that they push out and stuff. So that's a little bit more on the SEO side. But I think with images and videos or visual content as well, we could add a lot of those descriptions, hashtags, or those alt tags, which help you make sure that your distribution channels are there, present out there.
Sure.
And the people also create multiple, like the same piece of content, they try to package it differently for different audiences. I think that makes it more relevant for the platform. That is also something that, so that's I think all on the distribution side that we try and help our clients with here and there. Though we don't do performance marketing or distribution ourselves, I think that's some of the questions that we genuinely keep getting back from clients. So building a website, having a presence everywhere, I think as much as you can do, that's very important overall. So one piece of content you can package it differently and put it across in different places.
Actually, what you said was, it was like a golden nugget, that to be found, you have to be findable. That is so important, whether it's Instagram Shop or even Zomato for that matter, for food businesses. You can list just for discovery. A lot of people don't realize, they think, oh, I don't have the bandwidth to make as quickly and sell on Zomato. But you can list for discovery, get your reviews, as Hitesh was saying, put nice photos, create events even on your Zomato page, and actually have an up and running page to be found. And Zomato is the new Google for restaurants and bakeries. So that's a place that makes it very easy to be found. From an e-commerce perspective, right now, I was using a platform called LimeTray. I would definitely never recommend it to anybody. I want to shift from it. to something like a Shopify. Muskan said in comments. There are other platforms like the local ones, like something or Apna Neighborhood that we just had a demo about. Demo from. There is, I think you can also go e-commerce on WordPress. I'm not very sure about that. So very easy. Even InstaMojo for that matter. You can even InstaMojo, you can create a payment link. So people could just, a lot of times people say, I want to pay by card, but you don't have the card machine, and you can simply give them that link. So it's very easy, and one doesn't always have to take orders on WhatsApp, because that way you are not just making it more difficult for yourself, but you're collecting no customer data, no sales data, and that is so valuable in the years to come for the future of your business.
My just quick 2 cents on that would be, if you're looking for if you want to make an e-commerce sellable platform, Shopify is the way to go. And we were on WordPress earlier, tried a bunch of other stuff, but Shopify is what I recommend to anybody, because so WordPress, you'll get a website. Wix, you'll get a website, you'll get a structure and skeleton in place very easily, but eventually you'll start getting a lot of technical glitches. So Shopify is a platform which is very, very specifically made for people who don't know how to code, who want a website in place very easily, and they have like a suite of tools that really make every single process on your sale very, very simple. They have a very simple dashboard that you can operate. They have a bunch of apps that you can get for whatever feature you may want. It's not very heavy on the pocket. Obviously, a WordPress or a Wix is cheaper, but I have met at least like 6 or 7 fellow founders who were using WordPress and have now shifted to Shopify because it was a pain. And there are too many people that I've heard this from. So my recommendation would be, if you want e-commerce to be, if e-commerce is your the main driver of your business, Shopify is usually the right place to be. And they have a very solid network, a global network of people who are really building for e-commerce specifically. So I would personally recommend Shopify to anybody who wants to do e-commerce. If you want to do a blog, then WordPress is fine. If you want to put information out there, anything is fine, or a portfolio. But if you want to do e-commerce selling, then Shopify is my recommendation.
Right. Yeah, I've heard that from a few people as well, not just in this industry, but also in other industries. Shopify is also integrated with a lot of courier services, ShipRocket, and things that can help you enable that entire e-commerce ecosystem within your organization. Okay, another thing that I want to get on to that we haven't touched upon at all is that, can you grow your social media pages through collaborations? And would they be paid or unpaid collaborations? A lot bloggers are huge nowadays. Is it beneficial to reach out to them and ask them to market? Does it make sense to do paid collaborations along with them? So that would be about bloggers. And then also affiliate marketing with brands. Say both of you are offering something on each other's behalf, trying to introduce a whole new audience to your brand. So what are your guys, what do you guys think about that?
I can go.
Please do.
So yeah, okay, so one is influencer marketing, the other was affiliate marketing.
Yes.
Influencer, we've tried influencer. It hasn't worked well for us personally in terms of conversions.
Okay.
And I have, so I was recently talking to the marketing head at Urban Ladder, and she also gave me her 2 cents on influencer. And she's tried influencer for food and beverage businesses, and it hasn't worked out for her as well. So we were just like having a chat about this, and so for something like health and lifestyle, influencer usually works very well. And maybe that's because when you follow a health and lifestyle blogger, your entire point, the point of following that blogger is to get valuable tips or products that you can use. But usually when you're following a food blogger, maybe you just want to like look at good food and maybe you're not in that buying mindset, this could be something. But like we still want to try a bunch of other stuff. I think influencer may, what is happening increasingly these days is, so influencers usually have their groups where you'll see a lot of influencers commenting on each other's posts. That's not organic engagement.
Yeah.
But so these guys will have 400, 500 comments.
Yeah.
When you click on these comments, you'll notice you're taken to another food blogger's page.
Yeah.
What's important is if you're doing these collaborations, make sure that engagement is relevant. Make sure the people who are engaging with that influencer's comment is your target market.
Yeah.
So if that's happening, even if they have only 15 comments versus 600, but those are 15 valuable comments of your target audience, then that collaboration will be valuable for you. In terms of whether it should be paid or unpaid, that really depends on the kind of following, reach, and traction that the influencer has and what they're offering to you. So if maybe their following is not very high, like I said, they just have 10 or 15 comments on their post, but you feel like it's valuable, they might agree to a barter collab where you just send them their products and they'll do a post on that. But if there's somebody who's big and will have a impact on their business and they know that their traction is amazing, then they usually may ask for an additional amount over and above the products you send. And that's, I think it's on you as an entrepreneur to decide if it makes sense for you or not. Basis, I think, again, you need to A/B test, you need to try multiple influencers, see the impact it's having. How you test the impact is either you give them a code. So if I'm doing, let's say, a campaign with Mutter Media, I'll say use code Mutter5.
Yeah.
Get a 5% on my this thing, because there's no way to really track and attribute it.
Absolutely. Yeah.
You either do that or you get a screenshot of their insights to see if they have the option for swipe up links, how many link clicks were you able to generate from that campaign. So that's on influencer. On affiliate, I haven't personally tried it, but my thoughts on that would be, I think affiliate usually works better than influencer, especially if you are able to pick complementary brands. So if you're doing food and let's say you pick cutlery, you pick a cutlery brand and they're selling cutlery with your food, you're selling your food with their cutlery, you guys have equal amount of followers, you're getting access to their customer base, they're getting access to your customer base. That's usually it's usually like a no-brainer. I feel like affiliate is a great option.
Yeah, I mean, we did it as well, but so we did it with food bloggers, and like you said, that was not very beneficial. But what we realized is when people share our story, that actually makes a lot more impact. So we had somebody with 400,000 followers, and all she said was, "Oh, this is so tasty, this is so nice," and it did nothing. And we had someone with 10K followers, and she said, these are an all women kitchen. What they're doing is so wonderful. And suddenly we had 100 followers overnight. So it actually doesn't matter how big or small their following is, but it matters how they're telling your story the way you want it to be told. So yeah, that was our experience. Ashwin, do you have something to add? And I'd also encourage the audience to put in their questions either on chat, or I'd be happy to take you on the call as well.
Yeah, I just have something small to add. When it comes to the collaborations versus affiliate marketing, if you're looking at like the pure business part of it, like in terms of conversions and how much sales you're going to make, the affiliate marketing is probably going to work better because it's like easy to track, and it's like you'll probably, and they're also like directly benefiting out of selling a product, so that's going to work better in terms of pure sales. The influencer marketing is like a bit more complicated than that. Like you said, you might not have had the best experience because of your expectations from it, because the point of influencer marketing is I don't think ideally it shouldn't be purely about the sales. It's also about like building a brand and who is talking about it. When it comes to like collaborations, it is as far as unpaid collaborations go, I don't think you'll gain much out of it, because when it comes to just getting content in exchange for products, I don't think even as being part of the the influencer community, I don't really advertise any products on my feed, but I'm friends with a lot of people who do. and they are not really for like unpaid collaborations, because they put a lot of effort into their content, and they have their skill of their own, and they have an influencer of their own, they have an audience of their own. So if you want access to that, it makes sense, like pay them for it. But like Muskan said, you have to make sure it's like a relevant audience, and they do outside of just your post, make sure they are actually talking about your field and what you do. Like if they're already talking about that and your product is like organically included into their content, but they obviously they have to say it's a sponsored post. But outside of that, it a lot of brands I feel are like very rigid about how their content looks, how their piece of content looks when it comes to like sponsored posts. And I think that kind of, even though that's like fits within your brand, that kind of stands out too much from their own feed, so their audience will like take notice of that. And if you notice a lot of sponsored posts that people make, sponsored posts sponsored posts tend to have the lowest number of engagements, because it's like way too different from what they usually like, what they follow those people for. So if you give them some freedom, and also like if you give them some freedom in terms of how the post is going to look and the way they're going to talk about it, then I think you'll gain a lot more out of it. If not like purely in terms of followers or engagement, you'll get the trust of the people that follow them. So I think in the long term, it's an intangible thing. So I'm kind of being woo-woo over here, but that still counts for a lot, right? Because when we think of Zomato, it's not because of their, the ads that they blast on our faces. It's because they've like, we generally enjoy the product, and we like the people that talk about it, the influencers that they work with, we already like them. And the Zomato thing doesn't stand out too much. And it's just like, it organically fits into it. So I think that's like the best way to approach influencer marketing. I haven't done any influencer marketing myself. So I'm just talking from like speaking to other influencers and my my clients that I work with. I just know from there. So it's all secondhand experience from there, but just want to like add that into this.
Sure. Awesome. Would you guys like to jump in on the conversations, chat with some of our panelists personally? I mean, of course, not personally.
So I had this topic that I really wanted to discuss with fellow brands, that nowadays, I think on Instagram, there's this trend of trends in a way that everybody tries to jump on the bandwagon. There's a different reel that hits up or shoots up, and everybody tries to use the track or make something around that. And though I understand that it works in the algorithm, gets you gets your content rolling out or gets you the reach, but is it always like brands, is it suggested to always have that strategy that whatever is working, jump on the bandwagon and go ahead with it, or try using those ideas? Or how do you sort of structure or compose? Because obviously the short-term reach that you get from that is there, but is it something that we have been thinking about this for a long time with regards to our own content, Mother Media's content, and we wanted to always keep it very raw, very authentic. Initially, I think we started with some designed posts. It felt really boxy, and we didn't want to like have that emotion to it. This is coming from a brand. We've always wanted us to look as, not as an agency, but as friends that we try to help our clients with. But and this has been a debate internally in our team. Should we jump on the bandwagon? Should we follow the trends? Or how do you guys think about this? Because let's say the LGBTQ month comes in, everybody changes their logos to LGBTQ, even if their brand has nothing to do with it. And they all try to use moments like those. And I think this is a debate in the industry as well. But what's your opinion on this?
I think Hitesh is back. Perhaps Hitesh can take that question. No, not at all. Chirag had a question about jumping onto trends on social media. Have you done any of that? And does it make sense to you, even with reels or audios that are trending? Are you using those?
I have used a few with the new, the music videos or the music that comes in. So if you have something that is attached to your reel, or attached to your whatever you have put in, it makes a lot of difference because people, whatever is trending, if you try and use that, then you have that market, audience that would wants to look at it or try to get back. So I think that I have seen that, I have used it,
Okay.
but as I said, I'm not so much into uh, marketing or the thing, but I try my best to be seen out there, you know. And then definitely that's a trend. If you have a nice song or something that you have seen, and if you attach that to your reel, or it makes it has lots of views there,
Yeah.
definitely.
Muskan, Ashwin, what are your thoughts?
Well, okay, so I think on the trends, my view would probably be use the trend if it's relevant to you. Don't force it onto your feed. So, for example, there was this trending Bachpan Ka Pyar trend, and we are to do with nostalgic food, so it really like connected and it made sense. And we, if we didn't use that real song and do something, then that would be stupid, because
Yeah.
it's just like perfect for what we're selling and what that reel is about. And it is true that Instagram algorithm is actually pushing out these trending tracks, so why not use it? But at the same time, if you pick up any random trend that is not relevant, like Chirag said, not able to think of an example, and just try to force that into your business, which I see a lot of people do. A lot of people are trying to become influencers by just like making videos on trending tracks. And I don't think that works, because it's a little wannabe, it's a little not authentic, it becomes spammy eventually. People kind of get annoyed because they start noticing the trend that all you're doing is picking up uh, a trending track and making something on it. So even for our content team, I remember we've made this mistake too. We've tried to pick up a trending meme and do a post on that. And I remember having this meeting with the content team saying, guys, if you want to pick up a trending meme or a trending track, that's awesome. Take some time to brainstorm. If you can come up with something witty, something funny, on that, then put it out there. But if you're just like going with a backup just to use that meme, then don't do it. Like there's a lot of other stuff that we have to do. There's a lot of quality content we can put out there. We don't have to necessarily use a trending meme just for the sake of it. So that's my this thing on it.
Right. No, I think that makes a lot of sense. Don't force it, but if it's coming naturally, then just let it come. And many times there are very creative ways to do it. Now, I really believe in the power of reels, similar to what Hitesh said. And it is a fact that as soon as TikTok got banned in India, immediately Instagram was pushing out reels like crazy, and many influencers rose from the power of reels. Um, I then we started working with a 17-year-old, and she's way better at all of this than I am. And she's so quick to think of ideas. She's also an artist, so she, drew a cupcake, and then she just tapped on the cupcake, and it became a real cupcake. So things like that, they're very cute, and you can get people who are very active users of this. If you yourself are not comfortable, I am not very comfortable, so I get people like that to show their expertise. Ashwin, what do you think about trending social media?
It's very similar to what Muskan said, because I think where a lot of people, when you talk about trends, I see some I see a message here. Like, I personally feel like real trends are so overused now. So
Yeah.
we always think that reels are overused because of the brands that use them in the wrong way. Like when they try too hard to like fit that trend into their own content, it becomes very cringy, and it's
Yeah.
not good. It's not like fun to see, and it's not, you're not entertained by it. It's so transparent that they are just trying to fit something into that trend to like get some numbers out of it. So if you have to try that hard to like fit into that trend, don't do that. It's not a good idea. Like whether it's in terms of just like the style of pictures, or while lockdown started, dalgona coffee as a food was like super trendy. So if you genuinely like enjoy that, then obviously like post about it. It's perfectly fine. You can like capitalize on that trend. But if I personally like hate that, so I never put the single post on this. Like I really didn't like enjoy that at all. So it would be very disingenuous of me to like post about it as just as a person. When you're a brand, it's like even more under a microscope because so many brands are like trying so hard to fit in. If you join that crowd, then you'll be like set aside, and it's not really good for the long-term audience of it. You might get like more views on it or like a slightly more amount of followers from that, but I don't think it's really worth it. And one more thing that I think is that it's very important to like differentiate between trends and new mediums of communication, because when Instagram initially was like popularized in India and a lot of restaurants came in, people thought it was a trend, but it's not really a trend. It's like a new medium to like create content in advertising. And reels are not really a trend. I think Vrihali asked the question. Reel trends, I'm not sure whether you mean like trends inside of reels, like in terms of the popular music and stuff, or reels themselves, because reels themselves are not a trend. They are just like a new medium of creating content, and they provide a lot of views for you, and you have a lot of freedom and like how you create reels. Like if like you have 30 seconds to do whatever you want. So it's not really a trend per se. It's just like a medium that's like kind of boosted at the moment because Instagram is trying to push it more. So if you can create content like that, and if you manage to get someone like Meghna said, like you found like a content creator who's 17 years old who's like super into these reels and who has fun creating them. So you're probably going to find more success if you're like comfortable creating that content. Absolutely feel free to, and make sure the like differentiate between like a trend and like something that's new. Not everything that's new is a trend. So yeah.
No, I completely agree with that point of view. Do we have any more questions in the audience?
I think one question came up that we can probably pick up. So Kishnika asked, when it comes to consistency, often more focus is laid on quantity over quality. But how do you achieve a balance between both or prioritize it well? Because when we, with content, I think to maintain consistency, we try focusing a little more on quantity, but then it also comes at the cost of spamming too much. And at the same time, quality content takes effort. And a bit, I think in my previous question also, I felt what I meant was that some brands use trends as an escape to, produce low effort content. So, which was very well addressed by the panel. I think that summarizes it. But how do you make sure that you have a fine balance between quantity and quality? And I'm sure both are important. Yeah. Someone can take this up.
So can I go? Or
Yes.
Did you want to go, Meghna?
No. Please
Okay,
go.
cool. So I believe that I don't think quantity and quality should be like separated like that. I believe that quality actually comes from quantity. If you're just like, if you've never created content for Instagram before and you're just entering it and you're waiting until you create the perfect post or the perfect like quality post that's like valuable to your customers, you probably never post anything, or at least you'll probably post like once a month or something, and that's not going to do anything for your business. I think you should use the quantity of posts to experiment different things and see what works. And so that is really where the quality comes from, because without trying things out, you don't know what actually is quality content, because quality content is not defined by you, it's defined by your audience and defined by your customers. So you have to see what they are responding to, and you can create more of those quality content and see why they like that content, and you can use that as the baseline to like create future content. So I don't think quality should be like demonized like that. It's okay to post a lot, and it's okay to try new things, and you don't have to give like a huge commitment to like trying something new out. But like if once it works, then you can like start like committing to it and like spending more money on it to create like higher quality content based on that. But quality is quantity is like super important, sometimes more than quality, because we kind of put quality on a pedestal. Like everything should be perfect, our brand should look a certain way, like our feed should look a certain way, so I'm not going to try anything new. So
Yeah.
if you prioritize quality like that, you'll probably get nowhere around that. So you obviously have to. I think quantity should be talked about more, and you should obviously try out a lot and then come out to the quality of it.
So what you said about the feed being a certain aesthetic way, we did that for almost over a year, and we would say, okay, every row has to have some similarity. So if they're all chocolate cakes, next row has all floral cakes, next row has, and sometimes I just wanted to put out a hiring post, but they would not allow me to put a hiring post, and finally I was like, stop this nonsense. I sometimes we need to communicate something, and this is very limiting. And so sometimes that's attributed as quality, and that isn't necessarily the best thing for business. So that's my experience with this.
Makes so much sense. There's one more question which is interesting, though I feel we are also a little close to our
Time, yes.
time limits. So if we can, if I think probably we can, if Hitesh, you can take this up. I feel so. There's this question by Samangi. What's your take on audience for long format content in today's time? So with reels and with the retention span or attention span going down, do you think blogs or YouTube videos which are longer, generally longer in duration, they work that well, or is it more, or how do you find that balance again?
Can I go again? I feel like I'm talking a lot. I think
Hitesh is muted.
Hitesh, yeah.
Hitesh, I think you're muted. Yes.
Ashwin, you want to go ahead first? Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Sorry, I'm muted.
Okay, sorry.
No, you can go. I'll go after that.
Okay, I was just saying that I think the short ones work better. I think as I alluded earlier as well, that I think people have very short amount of span where people can give attention. If it's too long, then they don't want to go through the end. So if you have something that is very important that you have put in the end, they may not see it or they may not receive. So the attention span, if you want to catch that of the audience, then you need to be very short and precise and have something that is very important on your post. And I think that will help. That's what my thinking is, my experience.
Yeah.
Okay, I have like a different perspective on that. Like, absolutely, I agree with Hitesh, because short form content is what will get you that attention from the audience, and because that's so easy to consume, and a lot of people will like consume your content if it's short form. Hitesh, I think you're getting a lot of background audio on you. Can you?
If
do you
you
mind
could
muting
mute.
yourself? Yeah.
Put it out there. Sure.
So sorry about that. So when it comes to short form content, that is obviously going to get you more eyeballs on your content because it's so easy to consume, easy to share, and it's very important to like have that in place. But it's not going to really communicate into what your brand is all about. Like 60 seconds or 30 seconds are not enough. Like one piece of content is not enough to like communicate that. So you'll probably need some consistency across your content in terms of what it's doing, but you're also like long form content is equally important, even though it's not really the hot news right now. Like it's not going to get you like as many views, as many eyeballs. Long form content is necessary for you to like communicate what your brand is all about, and for you to like actually talk about the important things from your brand, to actually go in depth on like what you're doing and why you're doing it. That the 60 seconds is probably not as like enough to like communicate that. Obviously it is important to be concise with your information, and it's obviously important to like have that short form content in place, but it should be with the mindset of like getting your audience to like go from that short form content into the long form content. So it has to lead into something else, whether it's long form content or whether it's like actual real conversions to your website or conversions through your Instagram as followers. But I think long form content is really more for building brand, and short form content is more for like actually marketing and getting the word out there. So that's what I think. And as to add to something Hitesh said, for him, short form content is like really working, right? And he's gotten a lot of organic like reach through the short form content, and he's using that perfectly. But if you like supplement it with some long form content, you'll also have some, loyal customers who will actually want to see, get more from you than the short form content. So both are going to help you either way.
I think I agree with both of you. I only want to add that it depends on the platform that you're using. Many times, LinkedIn long form content actually does really well. And if you are targeting, say, corporate sales for gifting, for example, in our business, then long form content will do better. But of course, a different platform like Reels would, short form would do better. But with that, I'm going to wrap up the entire panel. If you guys have 2 sentences of advice for any potential food content creator, let's wrap up with that. And I want to thank you all for your patience. This has been an incredible panel, incredible insights, and I'm going to ping every panelist after this and pick their brains a little bit, because I'm so inspired by what everybody does. And I hope you guys got as much out of it as all of us did. Muskan, would you like to start off with the conclusion?
Yes. I think my piece of advice for on content specifically would be to be disciplined in content. So when I say being disciplined, try to create an organized structure for yourself. Try to commit to saying that I will post once a day. I will have a content calendar. I will try to get good quality content out there. I will try to understand my TTG. I will try to jot down, let's say, this much budget. I want to try this out, see what works. I think try to commit to content. Don't take this discussion as something that just sounded nice and that's it, but try to take actionable insights out of this and see how you can actually create actually take all the, like, I think a lot of like great nitbits that came out of this discussion as to your target market audience, long form, short form, quality, quantity. So try to see how that fits in for your business. Take some time out, make a list of things that you want to start doing, commit to it and start doing it, and I think everybody will see the results for themselves.
That's amazing. Hitesh, would you like to go next? I think you're muted.
Yeah. Sorry. So firstly, I'd like to thank everybody for listening to me. I'm sorry that I was missing for a while in between. I was just traveling to come to my restaurant. From my side, I just tell everybody that I hope that you get even 1 point out of what I've given you today. I'll be glad that you've got something. And just, I think, focus on what you are doing. And I think focus on who you're targeting your product to. And once you have done that, do it consistently. And as Muskan said, that you need to keep a calendar of when you're going to put out posts. Don't put them out very early. Make sure that you're aware that when do you want people to come to your place and have that particular product, or when is it available. So be very careful on when you're going to put it out. It's very important, and that's why you need to maintain a calendar. I think that's from my side. And wish you all the best. And if there's anything anybody would like to connect anytime, you can always connect anytime with me. And wishing you everybody all the best in their future endeavors. Thank you.
Thank you. Muskan and Hitesh, would you also like to just put in your handles so that people could follow you and DM if in case they have any questions in the chat? You could put in your handle so people could just find you. Awesome. Ashwin, any concluding remarks?
I'm so glad to have been part of the discussion, because I think everyone else on the panel is like way more experienced in terms of what we're talking about than me, like in terms of relevancy, and they'll be able to like provide you with a lot of like quality advice from like direct first-hand experience. And I saw a lot of that, and I'm so glad they were generous with their advice and information that they provided. It's not like you don't get that for free anywhere. So I'm glad that they put that out there, and I'm so glad to be part of this panel. In terms of takeaways, it is just to like start creating content. Like, don't wait until you're like super confident until you create content. Like, just start there and you will get confident after that. And it's okay to like I said, like quality actually comes from quantity. So no matter what you think you can put it out first, then see your audience's reactions and like work based on that instead of just like pondering about it and thinking what they'll do and acting out of that, because it's very different. Like when we create content, our mindset is different from like what the audience is thinking, right? We're only talking about like how good it looks, what exactly we are talking about, and how our brand comes across. But the most important thing is how it actually comes across, how our brand is actually perceived, and that can only be gained from actually creating content. And it's kind of counterintuitive to like gain confidence in that, but that's really the only way to do it. And so thank you, Hitesh, and thank you, Muskan, for, and also thank you, Meghna, for being an amazing host.
Thank you. Thank you so much, guys. Ashwin, would you also please put your handle in the chat box?
Yeah, I'll do that. Yeah, sure.
Awesome. So I've put mine as well. What I do a lot is I am very passionate, apart from building the business, in helping small businesses. So I have a program called the Pay It Forward program. Every Sunday, I speak to people for an hour and just help with my experiences. So if ever anybody over here wants to connect, please feel free. What will make most of us feel fulfilled in the panel and as a moderator would be if you shared your learnings, and if you actually took an action item like Muskan said and put it into your business and saw a result. That is the whole purpose of doing this. Like Ashwin said, these kind of insights, they don't come for free, and the few folks who've stuck around, we're so grateful, and we hope this helps you. I hope you have a great day, and thank you for your time.
Meghna, just to end, we would also like to have your insights from the discussion and takeaways. Didn't want to miss out on that.
I say this all the time. Today's topic is about content, but in any topic, whether entrepreneurship or fitness or anything, consistency in life is most important. Whether it's your content or anything, you need to show up. You need to show up on the bad days, on the days you feel sick, on the days that you're not feeling too good. That's what gets you ahead in life. That is my learning from my parents and from history. Anybody who did it day in and day out and did it with an honest heart, they get what they want to get. So that's my learning in life and for today.
That has been amazing. I think the past 2 hours didn't feel like 2 hours. Honestly, it has been an amazing panel. The amount of insights that we've all heard today is definitely a bunch of takeaways that we'll try to make a really short document and put all thoughts from the discussion and share it with the group. So just to end it, we've also sort of put together a WhatsApp group where we've added all the participants from today. So there were a lot of points that we couldn't take the discussion forward on, and there's a lot of scope in terms of discussing and staying connected and sort of ideating on things as and when they come. So we've just made a small, very closed community on WhatsApp for that, which I hope it would help you guys take the discussion forward from here. We'll also have a small feedback form that we'll be sending right after this. So if you guys have any feedback, how this could have been made better, how we could do this better, since Content Launchpod as an initiative is something that we want to do on a monthly basis with different industries and focus. And we want to really dive down deep into how content works in every niche per se. And every audience segment is very different. Their behaviors are very different. What works in one industry is very different from the other. And me being there, we want to sort of help. Since we get so many clients conversations, we do a lot of creative consultancy where we come across a lot of these questions and discussions. We thought, why not let's curate a discussion around those topics with amazing people like you from the industry directly, and have more sharp insights on those. So this is something that we're trying to do every month. And your feedback would really help us do this better. This was our first event, I think, that we did even in the virtual space after COVID. So there's a lot to learn in that sense. I'd personally like to thank, on behalf of our entire team from Urban Media, who's put this sort of discussion together, and for Meghna for being such a fantastic host, for Muskan, Hitesh, Ashwin, and Navika for adding these insights and taking the time off on a Saturday, 11 a.m. That's something that we're definitely going to take as a feedback from this. But thank you all for taking out the time. And honestly, when I said I completely meant it, that the past 2 hours didn't feel like 2 hours. So thanks a lot for being here, and look forward to nurturing this relationship forward. Thank you all. We'll look forward to how we take this.